We're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. This is the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts, Matt Sterling and Brandon Brooks. Let's get into it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Keeper's Corner podcast. Sorry for the technical problems. We're just still kind of in this transition phase. Tonight, Brandon and I are joined by Shay McNamara. Shay, for those who have asked in the past, hey, who's that tall guy hanging out with the team? He is, I guess the best way to say it would be a mindset and wellness coach, I believe.
Yeah, I refer to performance and mindset coaching. But
Performance and mindset. Okay.
all pretty much the same umbrella verbiage.
Shay has this is what, second season with the team now or third? Second. Okay. You're a former professional athlete with experience in international basketball as well as Australian rules football. So obviously you're bringing your personal experience to this.
Yep, absolutely.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with the team? Because like I said, we kind of see that and it's like, all right, so he helps them keep their heads on straight. But beyond that, I got no idea.
Yes, it's a lot, but how much time do you have?
We've had 2-hour episodes, so.
All right, well, we'll get in a second to it now. But basically, in short, my job is to help the individuals on the team and the collective as a team essentially accelerate their development, help them perform at their optimal best, and hopefully they can achieve their potential at the moment right now. And so, as you know, this is a business. It's a conveyor belt. You know, I will eventually leave, whether I want to or I don't, but the team is going to move on and the program is going to move on. And so when Everton and I joined forces, you know, obviously we needed to kind of rehab it a little bit and then do what we needed to do to get us to the place that we're at right now. And so we always had an original 2-year plan, and right now everything's going to plan. Last year, you know, we adopted, you know, without going in full detail, some logical repairs that were needed. And it was from personnel to structure of the integrity of how we want to play the system, but also the mindset and the core belief of them as individuals, but also as a team. And we have a very young group, which makes it even more challenging and which also makes it very exciting. And for you guys as fans, you can see how we are shaping up the future really well for the greater good of the program. Again, whether I or Coach Everton stays on forever or not, I think right now, if we had to leave, the program's going to be in good stead going forward, to say the least. Of course, things can happen, but the idea is, you know, when I got asked to, you know, join forces with Everton again, and obviously having the relationship that I've had with Tommy, been pretty seamless as far as our transition together and working in an environment and being in a position where we can really see the growth that we're putting into. And as you guys know, it wasn't easy at the beginning. We had to go through some growing pain, to say the least. But I feel like as of right now, we're in a good spot and we're continuing to get better and learn from our mistakes. So that's kind of the very macro perspective. But as far as essentially every individual on the team I have a relationship with, obviously some relationships are bigger and more deep. I also am at the mercy at, you know, some of the levels of maturity with some of these guys. You know, it is what it is with the level and the commitment, and the time and energy can't be spent as much as say I want, but I'm making the most out of the limited time that I do have with them. And so to give you a glimpse of the inside scoop, because really no one's really doing what I'm doing. I mean, other organizations, not in this league, but in the NBA or the NFL, they'll have a sports psych, but they're not doing anything remotely what I'm doing. So from a standpoint of individual growth, there's the text, there's the phone calls, there's the homework assignments. The homework assignments is for them to essentially reflect, be able to state claims of what happened, how it happened, and why. Without that clarity, they don't really know what's going on to the levels of what they need. And as you know, they're on their own individual journey to have the longest career that they can and have the most as they can. So my job is to essentially let them know that I really want them to win individually, but also I do work for the team, so I need to be as good as I can. So I kind of be a gentleman in the sense of what they're willing to face in the mirror. And as you can imagine, some people don't want me in their life as much as I might want to, because I am the mirror. I am going to force them to see all of what they offer. And as you know, and as I know, sometimes we don't like looking in the mirror, and we don't like.
Yep, that's fair.
There's times where it can be I'm the pain in the butt, to say the least, or I'm like literally the best friend that they've ever had and no one knows about. So I'm kind of the unsung hero, and somebody, unless they tell me, if they talk about me, I'll never be known. And obviously now that you kind of know a little bit, you still don't know any of the impact, and nor will you ever know the impact of the relationships that I have, because obviously of confidentiality, but
of course,
but the idea is, I really work with them holistically, spirit, mind, body. So the spirit would be their character development, who they really are, their professional development of how they're working on their standards. And then obviously when it comes to their skill set, what their ability to achieve, and being able to obviously document and measure and understand that there's a growth that needs to be had for them to become at their full potential, which is their full brilliance. And although many are awesome at what they're at right now, they all know, maybe outside of Nelly, one's kind of still on the up. I mean, Frank's obviously in his peak, towards his end. Same thing with Gordy, and the list. Obviously Nate, unfortunately, circumstance there. That's now he's seen the end of the road faster, and without the surgery, his career would have been over. So it's that serious. And as you guys know, it's a short life. And 22 sports professional myself, I know about that. And I obviously had my day, and, theoretically kept going earlier or longer, but I didn't want to continue the journey with it, which is fine. But the point is that I essentially just want to offer my individuals that I work with and the teams that I work with somebody that I wish I had. And it becomes very spiritually connected, in the sense that there's always a divine reason of why I'm in their life and why they're in my life. And so it's much more powerful and special when you understand the lessons that I'm learning from them, but also the lessons that I'm giving them that they never would have been computing in their mindset, or make them just compute it in their mindset and make them do the work that's necessary to achieve what they want. So I hope that's kind of a good gist, but obviously I can go down in all the rabbit holes if you want. But the main thing is just making sure that the individual and the team's operating at a function level. And as you know, injuries happen, as you know, life happens that really no one knows about. And I can tell there's some, obviously some few things that some people are going through personally. No one knows about. And, it's, I don't say that as like, I know something you don't. It's more just like, you think and you assume that they're just athletes and they're like products, like a video game, and they're always going to be the best, and they're always going to be their optimal, and they're always going to care, and they're always going to give everything they got. But the reality is that's not always the case because of logical reasons. And again, help them play them at their best. So whether they have an injury or they have something going on in their personal life that is weighing dear on their heart, or scaring them, they have to adapt. They have to conform to what their capabilities are and give everything that they have in that moment and play themselves accordingly. And obviously that's hard. And natural ego and the competitive spirit wants to give everything they got, or sometimes you just don't care anymore because you have other things that are way more valuable than of going to practice or going to a game or doing the rehab or training extra or right thing, but the unhealthy thing that maybe us can do, but they can't. Maybe we do. So, needless to say, it is holistic, and it is an approach that, obviously it's unique from what I ever experienced, and that's why I'm trying to essentially create a niche within something that they think is a niche, but it's definitely an assistance to the sports psych, because obviously, as you can imagine, there's some very confronting insecurities that I have to call out or to address and help them. But then also, be their biggest cheerleader, be their biggest fanboy. If I have to be, whatever they need, I give. And there is there's no form. It's very formless. I'm just essentially adapting to what they need and giving them everything that I have from a very authentic, heartfelt approach. And obviously through my expertise and what I'm just naturally really good at compared to other people giving sage advice. But it's not that. It's more complex than that, obviously, because anybody can, say something, but can they teach it? Can they educate? Can they get to that point? So I hope that.
Oh yeah. I mean, first of all, that was an awesome explanation. Wow. That's just, I mean, just, I know a lot of people, like you said, kind of think about athletes as, just what the fact, just these people that are on the field playing this sport, and not necessarily thinking about the fact that they're people. And I mean, a lot of us, we put our these players up on pedestals and things like that, and they're above a lot of we think that they're above a lot of these problems that we might be facing, when in reality they are still just a person that has their own set of problems. So having someone like yourself be able to kind of help frame them, frame their mindset, to be able to work through that stuff and or focus on what they may need to be doing at the time, something, to that effect, is just really, to me, it's really interesting to learn about. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, I wish I had me, and I'd like to help people understand that there's always a need to reflect and comprehend, like I said, where you're at and how you got there and why, because most people forget that there was an anticipation before the performance. Every moment of life, you're always performing. Every moment of your life, you're always performing. And so essentially we're breaking down moments. And when you generalize and just go off of feeling, especially the most potent feeling, meaning it's the biggest spike of enjoyment or biggest spike of, oh my God, biggest trauma of my life, and I'll never, take that shot again. Or I'll learn my lesson. I'll never take a one-on-one, whatever the case is. But the point that you and I both know, when we label ourselves and we feel the feeling and we adopt it and we carry it and we just wear it like a badge of honor, it can break you. And it's not fair either way, because that's just one specific moment of your life that you're now going, I'm the best thing, or I'm the worst thing, or I can't do this. And it becomes very, very complex, because as you know, just from last night's game, there was a lot of moments where you could argue that this was awesome, and then you could argue like, oh my God. And essentially everyone goes through that. And as you know, most people do the reflecting when they hit the pillow.
Yeah.
And they do that with themselves, and that's not appropriate. That's dangerous because one, you're gonna affect your sleep because you might be talking to yourself for hours. You might be yourself out, reliving, feeling it out, living in those regrets, avoiding it, or you're doing something to cope away from it.
Yep.
It only affects your spirit, mind, body, to say the least, not to mention all your relationships. So, in a nutshell, without going through literally everything, you can the severity and the significance of my impact with, and obviously with Coach and Tommy, and the holistic approach with the team. When I do my team workshops I do my team workshops once a week, and without, I can tell you this because good luck to anybody trying to replace me in any capacity, or compete with me. But the idea is I go through everything in the workshop. So I essentially start the workshop with just kind of either concerns or the attaboys or whatever the case is, whatever they need. And I go into each position and then go through man up, man down, and then obviously set pieces for offense and defense. And then I leave with the captain at the end. So essentially what I want to do is I want to empower everybody to essentially learn how to communicate, because as you guys know, sometimes we're not at our best when we're very emotional.
Yeah. Yep.
We might get a little frustrated and maybe not care as much about their heart and their feelings. But, well, that could really leave. It could affect the relationship and reflect and affect our own relationship on ourselves with our self-concept. Because you have to remember, our self-concept is made up of our self-image, our self-esteem, our self-worth, and any of that is not technically at its optimal. You're not going to perform at your best, and if you're not performing at your best, essentially, you're just kind of waiting to get cut, because that's the just not going to thrive, and essentially it's a slow burn down. And as you're well aware, none of them except for maybe Nelly, again as a joke, they're all on their way up to reaching their full potential in their peak years, etc. And if they're not giving everything that they have, and it's one thing to be like, it's game day, I'm gonna give everything I got, it's like okay, but if you really gave everything you got, you would address your insecurities, you would address your workout, your body, your recovery, doing the right thing for your warm-up, working on your skill sets, avoiding the things that you're not as good at. I mean, it's unbelievable, whether it's semi-pro or pro or college or youth or entrepreneurs or whatever, that we as human beings just run away from pressure. We do. We run from the truth, and it's hunting, and it's very emotional, and we don't handle it as well as we like, or what we in our ego say we do. So it's very confronting, to say the least. So I'm juggling all of that, and I'm doing everything I possibly can. And what's even crazier, although it doesn't really matter, I'm living in Milwaukee, so I do everything through Zoom, FaceTime, phone call, and text message. Obviously, I see them, occasionally throughout the months, throughout the season, and everything. But the impact is technically from afar, most of the time, which makes it unique, because I have to rely on everyone's perspective and everyone's ownership, and everyone is giving me some insight on what's going on. And I pretty much can tell who's telling the truth and who's pulling some stuff, and it's very clear to everyone. But I truly blow people's minds away when I'm able to, when I'm watching the game and I'm taking notes, and I'm like, "What's up?" And I'll text the guy. I'm like, "What's going on?" And they'll tell me what's really going on that no one knows about. Yeah, like clear as day to me, because I essentially have a filter in how I see things and what I focus on. That's maybe a little bit different from the play-by-play and the color. Let's just say that. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And it's I'm sure you had your work cut out for you after the big trade this summer. I'm sure that shook a few confidences. This league tends to see trades where it's players for cash or player for future consideration. So when you see teams swap guys who both had just signed extensions, it's a big reminder to everyone that, hey, this is a business. You might not be set here.
Yeah. No one's ever safe. That's the reality. And that's the reality of life as well. And unfortunately, for people, we all know we're going to die, and we all know our career is going to end, but we don't like to think about it. We don't like to acknowledge it. We like to play the game of it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
That's why I'm also having this job, because people need to stay on edge. They need to continue to sharpen up and work on their shine, to say the least. And I think people don't get complacent, and they, assuming that they don't care, which very few, ever fall in that category. Maybe in certain facets of their diamond, but not holistically, compared to other people off the street. Sure, but the idea is sometimes you just forget, or sometimes you just like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so tired, I don't even want to deal with it. And that's where I have to kind of have those crucial conversations that no one else wants, and everyone's timid to address with the individual or with the team, coach or Tommy or whatever the case is. So sometimes I have to do the dirty work, but I don't mind confrontation, because the way I see it is it's just a form of love. I don't do it to degrade. I don't do it little. I don't do it to make somebody feel less. It's more, if anything, they obviously don't always feel that way when I'm approaching them in certain ways, but whether I do it privately or publicly or in a small group, but that's just their ego trying to protect themselves. Because
of course,
soul level, they know why I'm in their life, and they also know when they look in the mirror if they're utilizing me to the best of their ability while they have for free too, because otherwise they're gonna have to pay, so they have a real opportunity in that sense. But as you know, it's very confronting to deal with trades, and to deal with when you feel that you're safe. And one of the things that most people forget about is these guys might be confident in themselves, but they have to basically go off of the reassurance or the lack thereof with coach and the GM. And they could be the most confident person, but if they don't feel the love or get that confirmation, which, as you know, not everybody wants to express that form of love or appreciation, they can become very fragile really quick. And they break faster than they would normally. And it's because of that lack of safety. So sometimes I'm just trying to literally just make them feel safe and remember that they're valuable and remember their worth, and not rely on me or coach or anybody else to reaffirm that. And obviously that's easier said than done for some people who are really in a very fragile point of their self-concept. And that's breaks for them, and something I think we all can relate to, as I know I can, because whenever I broke under pressure, it was because I didn't trust myself, not because I didn't put in the work or out sacrifice anybody or any of that. It was because I didn't sense that I was essentially being trusted by the coach. Even though I played, or even though I played sparingly at times, I just didn't feel the love, and that really wore on me. And everyone's different, but if you're empathetic and you're more sensitive to vibes and everything, like I am, it really affected me. And again, hence why I wish I had me, because I could have easily helped myself. But again, I needed to experience the experiences that I needed for me to truly understand and comprehend the level that all of us can relate to as a human being, not to mention as a high performer.
Yeah. I mean, just this conversation in general is just kind of, for me at least, just kind of shifted perspectives a little bit. Again, as we mentioned earlier, I mean, you see these guys, and we just see the performers that they are. And, there's, just like with the rest of us, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So it's, good to know that, they have someone kind of helping them out, helping, frame minds and just kind of help, put things in perspective, whatever they need at that time necessarily. So that's fantastic. That's really great to hear that, we have people like you in place to help these guys perform at their best, in not just physicality, but, mentality.
Yeah. It's amazing because, like I said, the spirit, mind, it's the characters that we play. And you and I both know when we represent our masculine and feminine characteristics and our unhealthy masculine and feminine characteristics. And when we, essentially cocoon up and we procrastinate and we hide and, we lie and, or we seek, entitlement or whatever the case is, and our unhealthy feminine characteristics, it's like, all right, who's going to tell them?
Yeah.
So it's like either coach is just going to cut you or coach is going to just rip your head off because look, him and Tommy, they need production.
Of course.
They to produce. Yeah. They have time to coddle and hug and do all that nurturing stuff like maybe I can. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I have to essentially be sensitive to where they're at and then obviously guide them to get into their healthier feminine characteristics of acceptance and, empathy and love for themselves and recognition, authenticity. But also at the same time, the reason why they're in their unhealthy feminine characteristics is because they're not representing and embodying the healthy masculine characteristics of doing the work and, grinding it out, mm-hmm. being in a position where they can do their due diligence and chip away at what I perceive as their brilliance. And as you guys both know, and as I know very clearly with my own self and my own little challenges that I've had throughout my life, it's pretty easy to go on the polarity of, what I just said, mm-hmm. vice versa, the unhealthy masculine characteristics when somebody is just ruthlessly mean to themselves or ruthlessly mean to other people or just always on edge and angry and retaliatory and just you name it. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's very toxic and unhealthy to say the least too. And mm-hmm. that's because a lack of healthy feminine characteristics where they're accepting themselves. Think about it. We always want acceptance from other people, but as you know, it's kind of beauty in the eye of the beholder. And sometimes the way it is with coaches, to say the least, we could have 5 coaches all watching the same practice and they could come up with 5 different lineups mm-hmm. and they can buy it too. And that's what's so hard for the player because they truly, in their mind's eye, of course, have to be real with knowing where they're at and where they stack. But at the same mm-hmm. time, they have to be unconditional to the reality and always essentially Conor McGregor it and go, I got this. Like, I'm going to get it. If I don't, I'm gonna essentially, like the movie 300, come back with your shield or on it. And
right.
You better find peace with yourself when you walk off that practice field or that weight room or that film study or obviously in the games. Otherwise, living with the regret on top of the potentially that little, whatever metaphor you want to call it. But if you're in a hole, it hurts in general, mm-hmm. but it hurts mm-hmm. much more if you are having regrets and you're not giving everything you have and you're not what's needed. And so my job is essentially to be the insurance for the team so that doesn't happen as much, to say the least.
Okay. Yeah. Balance and, keeping everything up here where it needs to be is obviously an underrated part of any sport.
Yes.
I've said it on many shows about being a Yankees fan, and one of the things in the fan base is just, there are some people who just can't handle the pressures of New York. It's like, well, they probably could if they had the right support system.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. I went to Marist College, so 2004 was my freshman year. So the Yankees Red Sox was the series that really christened. And my roommate was a Boston fan, and he was severely depressed after Game 3. And then I told him, I said, I intuitively believe that you guys are going to win. And he's like, I hope so. And then he, curls over and sleeps. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I get sixth senses. I get premonitions. Like, I just have a feeling. He's like, man, I hope you're right. And then sure enough, it ends up becoming true. And then he starts looking at me going, dude, are you like some psychic? I'm like, I have powers. But all jokes aside, I'd never seen more fights in my life, and it was a real eye-opening experience because, obviously me and Green Bay and obviously Chicago Bears, they have their rivalry, the Brewers, mm-hmm. Chicago Cubs, they have their banter, and obviously it's very fun and hilarious, but I never saw it to the extreme that I saw. And of course, when you're dealing with alcohol and youth, it's not the best combination when you have full testosterone and just ego and pride and all that. But it's the players feel that, and they know they have to perform, because the reality is they're going to get it, whether it's on social media or in the media, or obviously at the games, or when they're just walking on the street. And that tends to affect you, to say the least. And not everybody's made for that. And yes, you can build into it, but there's a natural pull of who you are and how you are by just formed the womb, but also how you were conditioned by your inner circle growing up. And as you just consciously choose to avoid or face it. And so, yes, it is complex, but the idea is, you have to want that pressure. You have to almost, it's about handling that pressure. And if you don't normalize that pressure, at least on your pillow, then how are you going to prepare for that moment other than experiencing it? And then it's almost too late, because it's like, oh my God. And it's like deer in the headlights. And we all know what that looks like from every other perspective. So it's important to obviously do the visualization, but it's really what it is it's you on a spiritual level going into a higher frequency and experiencing not only, winning the trophy, which most people do. They just fantasize about winning a trophy. I want to win the title. It's like, that's the have. But I need you to visualize yourself doing it. I need you to visualize yourself getting to the extreme situation and make it realistic. Can you do that? And can you see yourself performing under that pressure? And then they're like, I think I can do it. Yeah. And then it's like visualizing anticipation. Yeah, right. It's like, yep, that's it. But now let's go a level deeper into the spiritual side, into the position where you are actually being that guy or that woman to literally handle it and course correct yourself when you naturally are feeling the negativity or the intimidation or the odds or your own logical mind. And can you literally experience that? And yes, it's not fun to experience, as you know. It's not like the most enjoyable thing.
Of course.
But you were assigned to it by agreeing to it, that you knew that this was going to happen. But it's also finding a way to be as unconditional as you possibly can, and to embrace and embody that attention. And, handling the booze and handling, everything that you can imagine, or the laughter or the insults or whatever happens. But the idea is, can you be who you need to be? And can you visualize yourself anticipating those natural urges to be upset or whatever the case is, or insecure, but override it through being unconditional to it? That's really what I teach them. And obviously everyone's on their own journey, and I can only lead them so much to the water. I can't force them to drink, obviously. Right. But the idea is there's a level of training, to say the least, with that as a team, not just as an individual, which obviously is very dynamically challenging at times, because you're like, I thought I told you. Worked on this, all jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like it has its moments where you're just like, okay, accept. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. They'll never be perfect. But are they being intentional? Are you being intentional? And that's basically where I check them. Is like, I'll never be upset if you sky it, or if you swing a miss, or if you just honestly were trying your best and you just find a way to mess up, or you just simply got beat. I'm never going to be delusional in that sense. But what I am going to be very firm on is, where were you? And this is where I do the reflection, where I essentially, earn my keep, is by having them truly comprehend what they were offering of themselves and understand why they were offering what they were giving, even though they were trying their best. Do they understand and comprehend what made them feel the way they felt and why they made their decisions? So it has nothing to do with, do I know soccer, do I know baseball or any other sport, although a lot, to say the least. But the idea is, that's not my jurisdiction. My jurisdiction is of what you know. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah.
way? Why did you choose that? And that's where it's very confronting and annoying to somebody who doesn't want to get that real. But the reality is that if they don't get that real, they'll never truly learn their lesson, and they'll never become masters of themselves, and they'll never truly be able to handle the pressure, best ability at the moment of where they're at on their journey.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, accountability is one thing in the past we had harped on, and it sounds like you're someone that is here to make sure the players are accountable, not just to Everton, but to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone's their biggest critic. I mean, that's, I know I'm always my biggest critic. I mean, that's just how it is. So, sometimes we just don't know necessarily how to process that. So that's really what it comes down to. So, I mean, it's good to know that, like I said before, it's, that these guys have that, have help with that, have, someone who's helping to look out for them, and kind of keep like I said, keep their head in order, basically.
Yeah. Well, basically, batting their ego. That's really bad. My biggest competition is their ego. It's not if I can't figure out their issue or their challenge. To me, it's easy. Trust me when I say I have unlocked many suppressed memories and traumas that would disgust you of why they are the way they are, and I don't do that as like I can't wait to make you feel the worst experience, worst moment of your life, or why you're insecure, or why you are the way you are. But I just am so good at making people get to that conclusion of what actually was the root cause. Yeah. And it's like therapy, but it's more in a surgical way of truly reflecting and analyzing, and then obviously the spiritual teaching of forgiveness, apology, gratitude, and seeing the blessing in disguise. And I always tell the guys to say, you don't have to like it, but you will love it. And people just associate like training hard and doing extra laps or whatever the case is, but that's the easiest, the body. But from the mental and the spiritual level of their development, there's just things in people and ourselves and our past and all that we just don't want to do. We don't want to experience it, and we did. But the reality is that as long as you don't love something, it will own you, and it will break you, and it will essentially ruin your shine, to say the least. And that's where I have to allow them to experience what they need to experience. And if they're not willing to love the situation, then I have to be patient with them. And that's where it's very hard because, logically, as a drill sergeant coach, you're like, I don't care, and you better not. And there's times where I can't give them the truth because they can't handle the truth. They will be broken. They'll be ruined. They're not handle it. They're not mature enough to cope. They're not mature enough to handle the relationship going forward. Yep. And so I have a very tight line with some people, to say the least. And this isn't just on this team. This is for all the other teams I'm working with and all the individuals I work with. But the idea is, as you can imagine, is like I'm getting hired to produce, and I'm doing them to best. But at the same time, it is a very hard line with forcing somebody to heal or build whatever's needed, or to literally change and not be as selfish, or whatever you can imagine, or help the relationship and break bread with that person and ask for apology, or to confront them. And obviously it's hard to do that in general as a human being, but my job. And to be quite frank with this team, they are showing tremendous amount of growth in their maturity. They're showing tremendous amount of growth in their standards, and they're obviously developing their skill sets, in every which way that you can think of, whether it's the understanding the system. Obviously, Coach Everton has a very complex system. He's brilliant. He's a genius in his own right, and him and I have been, two geniuses coming together in our own right, and we make a pretty good team, to say the least. And so it's been pretty awesome to work with one of your closest friends, and also on a professional level, to see him succeed, and obviously have him help me succeed, and have the collaboration be is what it is. There's really no surprise why we are where we're at right now and where we're heading to going forward. So
yep.
Yeah. Brandon, any other further questions for Shay?
I did have a couple in the chat that weren't necessarily touched on.
There's plenty of stuff to talk about.
I believe it.
I addressed some things too, so let's see what you guys are made of.
Well, these are more general questions, but we'll start with, they're both from our friend Huber, aka the FC Fanatic, aka whatever you want to call him. First is, how did you join the Utica family? So how did you kind of get involved with Utica?
Well, obviously, it was through Everton. So Everton and I, once Everton got on, I helped him with Ambush when they were really bad, when they won one game out of the whatever it was. And that was a huge transformation. So, we have produced other products in the past with teams, but obviously Ambush was the other noticeable one for world of MSL, and then was with them for 2 years. And during that time, it was a huge transformation, to say the least. And stuck with players that just aren't good and just not good spirit, mind, body. It requires a lot of transformation, to say the least. And obviously coach does his thing and I do my thing. And that was proud experiences that I've had. I'm proud of every experience I've had, every client I've had, but essentially we realized really quick that I'm really good and he's really good and we're really good together, and we can transform anything. And so with that credibility and concept in mind, he was like, this is a different level. It's a different transformation. Without going into the details of what was dysfunctional at Bush or what was with us, it was a different level that we saw that there actually could be a legitimacy of a championship run in a 2-year, 3-year plan.
Yeah.
And so right now we are exactly where we envisioned and what we've been planning on. So it was basically that. And then my relationship really grew strongly with Tommy, and we're obviously all good friends, and we definitely have our moments of keep it real and collaborate, and doing sessions with him, doing sessions with coach every week, to make sure that they're operating at their best, but also helping them understand why a player or group is the way they are, and helping them figure out how to give themselves the best chance to be at their best for their role for the team. So that's how it happened, and that's why it's still going.
Very cool. And then I guess the only other thing is basically, we heard kind of about the week to week kind of, the different gatherings, things like that, the different sessions. What's a typical day? If we broke it down to just one day, what's a typical day for you?
With me, I mean, I have being here in Milwaukee. I basically have other businesses, other clients that I work with, other teams, other clubs, other players or entrepreneurs or whoever I'm working with for the day. So essentially it goes by session, or I have to do the busy emails and texts that going. But typically when I work with an individual or a team, it's once a week, proper session, workshop, and then give them homework, give them something to think about and be intentional about. And then I'm basically open 24/7 essentially for them to hit me up. And believe me, I have been hit up at every hour of the day for crazy stuff, and also just some very stressful things that they were going through in their life, or what they just couldn't handle during their current stay with the team. And so my job essentially is just to be there for them, and make sure that they know that they have somebody they can confide with, but also is not emotionally attached, and it's one-sided. Having somebody be your best friend but be one-sided is pretty awesome, because I just literally want them to win. I want them to win in every way, and I don't need anything from them. Although obviously relationships do happen, clearly.
Yeah.
It is me serving them in any capacity that's needed. And that's the gist of that. But as far as like our workshop as an example, so we have intentions for, like I said, all those positions and all of those man up, man down, and obviously the power play, or the free kicks, defense, offense.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that workshop is, I'll go through the list of, I'll start with the targets, and I'll go, our intentions was this. What did you guys think? And so the targets will speak, and then anybody on the team will address what they feel is appropriate to give them that attaboy, or, hey, I need you guys to be more, intentional of this. I think you should work on this, or be mindful of this. And sometimes it can be confronting, because obviously we're humans, but the idea is that sometimes we upset each other, and my job help them and facilitate their healthy relationships, because as you know, most teams don't have anything remotely close to what I offer. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of talk trash behind each other's back. And so my job is to help them truly, walk the talk of what they all claim to be as family, and we're brothers and all that. But can you keep it real? Can you address when you are really frustrated, or when you felt insecure by their comment or the behavior? And these guys are doing it. And that's why I get so excited about this team, because I know that they can handle a lot of pressure, to say the least. And it's only going to get more intense as what we're going to face in the playoffs with I'm sure you guys know this. We're not going to have any home games in the arena during the playoffs, or at least the first couple of weeks, because of the World Cup for the women's.
Yep.
System that they got. And so that's going to be unique. And then after that we survive that, we should be getting the playoffs if we don't win a single game going forward. So we should be fine. Obviously we're
knocking on wood on that one.
Yeah. Whatever wood you want to knock on, that's fine, but I don't need to knock. We're good. But the point once we get through that, we're going to be without Heverton, and we're going to be without, realistically, Frank and Nilton, who are arguably two of our best players, or at least major impact players in the team. So that's uniquely going to be very, very challenging. Not to mention, we're going to have Coach Casey, who's been an assistant, but he's still young in his career as a coach. And so, as you can imagine, I've been working with him and making sure ready, and making sure that he's understanding certain concepts, not as what coach is trying to do, because that's a whole different, think about it. It's like driving your friend's best, fun car, and you're like, this is awesome, and yes, I'm controlling it, but like, it's not mine, so I'm kind of nervous. Coach Casey, he's in that, and he's also trying to understand and master all the concepts and the philosophies and the X and O's. And so it's just, he's in for it, and so we're in for it as a group, playing what I just said, on top of, playing some really good competition. And so, the way I'm going to help this team win is to make sure that we can talk and we can communicate and we can essentially coach and be best friends with each other, but also, be in a position where we know each other's role, we know each other's responsibility individually and in our groups, our subgroups, and sure that we're helping and assisting each other grow to our best that we can in our potential right now, to hopefully be enough come playoff time, not to mention when we don't have those three guys.
Yeah.
So that is what we have to deal with. So no matter what happens, we're going to have an asterisk attached to this year. It just is what it is. And every team's going to have the same built-in asterisk, let's just call it. And so it's going to be very, very hard. And I think what I've been able to do for the team right now has been everything that I visualized before the season and everything that I've been working on. It's really encouraging to see what's happening out in the public that you guys see, but also in the personal private individually, but also in the relationship private that you will most likely never know about, and all the dynamics that happened during that time, as you can imagine. So that's really what I'm really here for right now, if you want to get real technically detailed on this year, is to make sure that we get to the playoffs, sure, but also make sure we are ready to, no matter what, reason, maybe not excuse, but a reason that I have coach, a reason not to have two of our best players, and yet still find a way to win.
Yep.
And I believe do that because of obviously but also what these guys have been willing to agree to as I challenged them and as I started the first day when I got there. So we've been very intentional. We're not going through the motions. And I think, as you can imagine, when somebody's not in their life the way I am, you can just go through the motions, get caught up in feelings and the results and, the grind, and just not be intentional as you say you claim you are. Just kind of all of it. But so that's essentially what I am. I'm just the insurance, so it feels like a video game that you're playing. Always at their back. Although we know that's not reality.
Of course. No.
I can try, right? I'm never going to stop.
Oh, that's all I got though, Matt.
I was going to say, this has been eye-opening.
Yeah, seriously.
Because you hear the performance and mindset, and like I said, we've had a few people over time be like, "Hey, who's that tall guy?" And we're just like, it's a performance and mindset coach. What's he do? Brain stuff. It's the best we could. Like, I don't know. Helps keep them focused.
Massage the scalp, you'll be fine. No, there's so much more to it, as you guys know, and obviously I'm keeping it very macro now and not going full detail, obviously, but
of course,
there's also so much you can obviously say, and like you said, confidentiality. There's a lot you can't.
Yes, yeah, and just assume logically that there's personal things going on with them individually. There's things with their relationships in their life. There's severe things that potentially will happen that is ridiculous, and then there's just things that they're just naturally going through, relationship breakups with friends or girlfriends. Or just being homesick and missing their dogs. I mean, as an example, Taylor's about to have a kid. So Taylor, and this is just another reason why this is challenging, is because we're missing Taylor for at least a month. Because obviously his priority and what he should do is just be a good husband and good father. Because that's but his situation is she's living in California. So like the polar opposite of, where logistically any normal professional would have. They'd have their with them and all that, but due to their circumstance and how short the season is, it wasn't along with her job and a career. So little things like that, again, that's just one example without, breaking the bank of all the confidentiality, but that's a legit thing that we're really excited for him. And
of course.
We wouldn't position him in any other capacity other than doing what's right for his future baby, or his baby now, but also the future, a real baby they can hold on to. But his spouse, he should be with her and support her. And you guys know that is half the battle of being a good husband and a good co-parent. It's just for her. And so like I said, there's individual things that are just objectively challenging, and every team has these theoretically. It's different clearly, but the dynamic is real. And again, we are up against some unique challenges, and I actually love it. I get off to it, because if I can help them feel more unbreakable than fragile and perform at their optimal best than otherwise, then technically when my head hits the pillow at night, I feel pretty fulfilled, because I know it's not going to be perfect, nor will I ever be perfect. But the reality is that we've controlled what we could, and we address things head on, and we're not turning a blind eye to something that we know to face. So these guys are more than prepared and more than ready to handle that pressure, assuming we get to that opportunity when they all.
still there, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still here.
You're getting a little choppy there for a second, so just had to check.
Okay.
But no, this, like, at least speaking from my perspective, this whole thing has just been, as Matt said, just very eye-opening, and we really appreciate you being here for sure. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So Matt, you're gonna help me get with the Yankees, all right? So we're gonna figure this out. Realize,
if I had any connections there, I don't know if I'd be doing this.
No, you will be doing this. You just be doing it for the Yankees.
Okay, if he's doing it for the Yankees, he's doing it alone because Red Sox. Sorry. Sorry.
You know what? You guys are so divinely perfect for one another. You guys are perfectly just like made for each other. It's just so cool.
My favorite band is Dropkick Murphys, and the last two or three times that they've played at Fenway, Boston has gone on to win the World Series. And when I saw them for the first time, they're like, yeah, the only time we'd play at Yankee Stadium if it's burning to the ground behind us. God, this is my favorite band. You're just like, we would play there if your favorite sports stadium burned down.
But isn't that
talk
funny?
About losing a crowd real fast?
Yeah, exactly. But isn't that funny though when we attach things to us and connections that we have, and that's what these guys are go through. So they go, well, I always play well because I live in Milwaukee. I grew up with the Wave. Coach Tozer, I grew with his older sons, so I've known Coach Tozer since I was 7. So going to games when they were playing in front of essentially 19,000 people on ESPN. I would be at the door right by the penalty box, and when the buzzer would go off, the door would open for his son, and I to go on the field and run to the bench and just kind of take it in and then go in the locker room. Mm-hmm. So, young boy who always fantasized and dreamed about being a pro athlete since I was 4 years old, I got such a beautiful experience of literally feeling the feeling of winning in front of people. And although no one maybe was looking at me, or maybe they saw me in their peripheral, but they weren't focusing on me much long, any of that. But I got to experience that feeling of like, oh my God, like this is what it's going to feel like when I'm that age and I'm a pro or I'm in college. Any of that. And so you have to think that some people truly don't have that connection with fans, although it's counterproductive and intuitive, because they know that if I'm going to fulfill my potential and I want to be a pro, I'm going to play in front of people. But not everybody has those good attachments, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And so I thrived under these connections. Not everyone does. Not every people create, some forms of belief and connections with certain cities. Like, again, if we play Milwaukee, we never win in Milwaukee, or we always win, or I always have my best game, or I have my worst game, or they own me, or I own them. Mm-hmm. I mean, just think about everybody on the team having something like that. I mean, and make sure that it's either healed or like, hey, yeah, I want you to feel that, but let's not assume, we don't expect, we earn. Yeah. Let's go keep going, but feel that feeling conditionally, sure. But I really am training them to be unconditional, to feel their optimal best, regardless of the outside. So, needless to say, am I still there? I hope I am.
Yeah, the picture froze up.
Yeah, your video froze.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, you guys understand the significance of what I just said, because that I wanted to end with, or we can keep going if you want, or I can leave. But the point is that those attachments to what you said is such a underlying factor, as you can imagine, where they're like, I didn't have my best shoes, or I didn't have my socks, or I didn't have my lucky this. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm guilty of that as a kid, but I got away from that. But some of these guys literally need that first touch to be good, or they need to do something in a warm-up to have a good game. They put all limitations or these expectations or whatever the case is. And so, like I said, we as human beings are so funny at times, and we sometimes get in our own way, to say the least. But that's why I'm trying to do everything I can to just have them get in their flow, get out of their own way, and just allow them to be. And when they're they're going to do it. And when they do it, they're going to have whatever they have to offer at their best. And again, it's a fun job to have, and I really love it, and I really appreciate being part of these guys' lives. And I truly do kind of get a teary-eyed when I see these guys succeed, whether it's a small win or a big win. It's very special for me because I know how hard it's been for them to achieve what they just achieved, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to get those hugs and high fives and those texts.
Did we lose you?
No, I think it just cut out for the last little bit there, but
Can you guys see me or no?
can't see you, but can hear you.
Can't hear. Yeah, your video just froze up on us. That's all.
All right, yeah, I'm all black over here, but anyway, I guess that's my cue to leave. But guys, much for the opportunity. I hope this was enlightening, and obviously happy to help in any capacity going forward if you ever want to have a quick call before the playoffs or whatever the case is. But I'm really privileged and honored. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out. It was great having you on.
Yeah, it was
It's
really
kind of
great.
A little peek behind the curtain at what goes on, and like we said, eye-opening. And it is a reminder that, hey, these guys are people too. They're not just who we see on the turf.
Yep.
Yeah, they're more than a number on the back of the jersey.
Yep.
But again, thanks guys for everything. I appreciate it. And yeah, if you ever want me to stop by again, I'm happy to do so. And if not, it's been a privilege and honor. And hopefully I'll see you guys when I go out there later this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you very much.
Again.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shay. Have a good night.
Thanks so much. You too, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
All right, let's see how this transitions. Oop.
Oop.
All right, well, you didn't want to resize, but that's fine. I'll fix you. It's fine. I got you. I got you taken care of. Don't you worry.
We'll get it all figured out one of these days.
Wow.
That was a great conversation.
That was so cool to just learn everything that we just did. Everything that we got to learn there was just, that was phenomenal. So it's really nice to know that, you know, yeah, we can do all the physical training. Yeah, we can, you know, run all the drills and everything, but you'll never necessarily be able to cover all your bases unless you have someone like Shay keeping their minds in order as well. I mean, you know, keeping these guys basically at the as close to their peak as they possibly can, and just, you know, kind of essentially almost like willing them to succeed and making them will themselves to succeed. So yeah, that's just mind blowing to put it one way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you were an athlete at high school. I bowled through college. I'm sure we can both relate to moments where, you know, you kind of screwed up and it stuck with you for a while. And it would have been nice to have someone that would talk you through it and, you know, get you back on track mentally.
I wish I had something like that at my job to be able to talk you through, like, well, what happened here? Well, you know, how, you know, just, wow. Yep. My brain just fried. It's gone. But yeah, just having that at any job would be fantastic. All right. Well, you want to transition into, yes, it was. Oh, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I know it went on a while, but so worth it. So worth it.
Yeah, I guess we should transition to talking about the game from yesterday.
How do we transition from
that?
How do we do that?
I don't know. Hey, Utica won 8-5 versus the Blast yesterday.
Hey, yeah, that happened.
Call me Paul Blart because that was my segue.
Oh God. Oh. Yes, let's talk about that 8-5 win against Baltimore at home.
Big in the sense that we moved to 3-0 on the year against Baltimore, 4-0.
I want to say it was 3.
3-0. We played them twice in December, once in January.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Twice in December, and then this was the first time, and we didn't play them at all in January.
Once in February.
Yep.
Man, it's 5 days into the month. I've only had one day where I was writing the date on things at work, so it's been a lot. And I was screwing that up every time. 1, no, put the slash before that, put the 2 there.
God, why did you just get giant? What are you doing?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not the one with OBS open this
I
time.
fixed you. It's fine. I'll just keep resizing you. It's fine. I'll deal with it. So, 8-5 at home against Baltimore. A bit of a nail biter twice.
Mm-hmm.
Considering it got within 1 twice.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, a freaking great game.
Yeah.
Always have their rocks in the road, or always have their bumps in the road, but a great game to watch.
It's always great to beat the rivals.
Yes. Oh, always.
You know.
Always.
Excuse me. And as always, we'll start with our stat that tells the story. Brandon, do you have one?
I mean, even if I did, I'm not going to remember it at this point. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I don't know if I really have one for this one. I mean, this was just it was a well fought back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like, no, I'm wrong. I do have one. I just had to look at the stats to remember it. Can we talk about the game that Milton had?
Oh, yeah, you absolutely can. Just remember that the score sheet online is incorrect. They have attributed a goal to him that belongs to Ronaldinho.
Yes, I do see that they have 5, and I'm like, no, he didn't have 5. He had 4. So, yes, the score sheet online is a bit wrong. It does have him having an additional goal, but he still had 4 goals on the game. I mean, he had a hat trick even prior to that very last goal that, I mean, he basically walked it in. I mean, he did walk it in reality, but with a little bit of emphasis, that exclamation point on the end of it that didn't make a lot of people happy, but for the people at home that are maybe might be listening to this and not watching it, the other teams would do it if they had the opportunity. You know it. I know it. I'm not just saying that Baltimore would do it to us. I'm not saying it would literally be if you're riding the riding the high of the game, riding the adrenaline, you're going to walk it in and then put the exclamation point on it. Yeah, you're going to walk it in with style, Gleo.
Yeah, I'd say that feels less disrespectful to me than quite literally just walking the ball in as you dribble it.
Yeah, agreed.
Like that, at least take an actual shot. Now, fantastic game by Nilton. He further pads his lead on the team in points and goals. And talk about a dark horse for team MVP. I don't think anybody had him picked out.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I didn't. And he just walks in like, hey, this is my day, or this is my year. And look at where we got. Look where we're at.
Big step forward in year 2.
Absolutely.
My stat that tells the story is the difference in the goalkeeper save percentages. Wilkin with another solid day, 11 saves on 16 shot attempts, whereas Zierhofer had 5 saves on 11.
Yeah.
And, as it goes in this league, the team with the better goalkeeper on the day tends to win games.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, again, we love Andrew in goal. Don't get me wrong. It is amazing when Andrew's in goal. We have a much higher sense of security when Andrew's in goal. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that trickles down to the other guys on the field. But Brickwall Brian is living up to his name. After he had, a couple of games where they just threw him in there, or, it was like his first game or whatnot. His past couple, when he was sick, his past couple have been phenomenal performances. And it just shows that just because he's a backup doesn't mean he isn't good.
Yeah. It's been a great showing of the depth that Utica has.
Yes.
And it definitely adds confidence when you can see your backups perform. Like we said, at the moment, Brian's ceiling, not as high as Andrew's, but his floor's not as low as a lot of backup keepers around this league.
No, absolutely.
Like, there are teams where... he started for Rochester when he was playing there, took over the starting job, and looked like he was going to turn into something. Mm-hmm. And he's developing behind Andrew. And we'll see what happens whenever Coughlin decides to step away from the game. But if that were to happen, if he were to go down with a season-ending injury, it wouldn't be the world is... the sky is falling kind of panic among the fan base. We can feel confident.
And, I mean, you also have to remember that not only behind Andrew is Brian, but behind Brian, you've got...
God standing! The man! The myth!
The legend! I had to. I'm sorry. You're laughing.
Julian.
Don't you pretend like it wasn't funny.
I'm not pretending.
All the love to Julian. It's just, it's going to be the running joke. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's fitting, since I picked his stat line, that he was also my play that changed the game.
Okay.
The seconds wound down in the second quarter. He made a diving save to his right that kept Baltimore off the scoreboard and kept it a 3-1 lead. If Baltimore scores, cuts it to a 1-goal lead, literally 3 seconds before the half, that is a huge swing of momentum.
Oh, yeah.
You go into the lead. Yeah, you're going into halftime with a lead. You still feel good. But you don't have that insurance goal with you right there. And you just, coughed it up with time expiring.
Yep.
And it's a bad feeling to have to go sit on for 20 minutes and not be able to change anything about it.
Yeah, because then you dwell on it, and then it's just, it can potentially become kind of an infectious thing in the locker room where it's like you're down on yourself because you didn't stop it. And then... everyone else is like, well, he's questioning himself, so now I'm going to question myself. And negativity just spreads like wildfire sometimes. And to have those 20 minutes to sit on it and dwell and dwell and dwell, I mean, yeah, it's never good. And we could have seen a totally different game if that had happened.
Mm-hmm. What about you? Your play that changed the game?
Honestly, mine came much later. Initially, you could have said before that, one of the plays that changed the game would have been the Frank Tayu goal, specifically because it put us outside of that. Hey, they're within one now, but then they did come back and they brought it back within one again. So for me, I didn't feel this game was totally over until the second to last goal. I believe it was Nilton's hat trick goal.
Yes.
Where, you know, we were able to give us that separation, give us that 2-goal lead with only like 4 minutes left. It's like, okay, now Baltimore has to kind of be in a little bit of a panic because now they really need to keep us, you know, they really need to, you know, buckle down and do something quick. So that the pressure is going to be mounting on them. If they didn't have that, if that hadn't happened, then it's very possible that they could have tied that up. We could have gone to overtime, and you never know what happens in overtime. Usually when we go into overtime against Baltimore, it's not fun. So it's like, I'm glad that right there, that Nilton goal. And then, I mean, the next one was just, again, the exclamation point, but at least this one really helped to make at least myself as a fan much more secure in the game. So that one is what really changed it for me, at least, in just the feeling that, like, hey, we got this.
Absolutely. No, it's it wasn't really the nail in the coffin, but it felt like it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the nail in the coffin, but it was stupid analogy, but it's like you know, putting the divider on the grocery thing. You know, you're separating your stuff out, you know, you're staking your claim, you're showing like, hey, you know, we're separating ourselves from you, we're making sure that, like, we're showing that, hey, you know, we have space in between us, and we can, you know, we've got this now. I mean, yeah, it was just, I don't know. Anytime it's within one, it's like, you know how the MASL is. A quick getaway or a quick breakaway, and it's tied up. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leads evaporate, kind of like in that Harrisburg-Milwaukee game.
Yeah. Yeah, sixth attacker for the win.
Something that needs to change. Do you have anything?
Oh, I'm trying to think back. Not really. I mean, not from this one. Not that, you know, there's always the passing, you know, there's always those ones that go errant and, you know, it's like, oh, well, that's something we need to correct. But, I don't know. I think one of the things that still bothers me a lot is when we allow ourselves to be on the back foot. You know, I feel like a lot of the time there are situations where we're playing on our back heel and we don't necessarily need to be, but we allow ourselves to get into those situations. And I really do believe that those are some of those situations that we need to start to work on, start to figure out how to better get out of, or how to more quickly get out of, versus just kind of playing it out, because those are dangerous situations. And I know for myself, it's scary to watch. I know they're going to happen. It's just a matter of, I think that's, if we need to find something to work on, that is definitely something that they should work on, is trying to figure out the best way to get out of those situations.
Yeah. In the defense third, I can agree with. You know, instead of possessing it, like you're talking about playing on your. What's up?
Como arigato, Mr. Roboto.
I don't.
You're recovering now. You're recovering now. Okay. I would just repeat what you just said, because
just agreeing with you that, yeah, gotta, you know, clean it up sometimes when we get the ball in our own defensive third and not play with it so much where we let the opposing team push it back down our throats.
Yes, absolutely.
My thing that needs to change is not team related, crowd related. I know you guys missed the game.
Oh, we've heard.
Well, oh no, not even about that.
The
crowd was just no. I think the guy misheard me when I was heckling Sigic, and I think he thought I said "you bitch" or something like that.
Yeah.
No. It is. I don't know what it was about the crowd yesterday, but they were dead.
Because I wasn't there.
Go watch the game replay, and around the 6:30 mark, it's about when I show in the second quarter is about when I was able to get off the line. Sorry, we were just killed over at 72.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. All those soccer teams coming in for the penalty kick.
Oh yeah.
Tournament in honor of Ava Woods kind of buried the kitchen a few times.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
But I tried a couple times to get the crowd chanting. And there are a few other guys you could hear trying, and they just would not pick up a cheer. It was like they were sleepwalking. You could get the vuvuzelas. It was so weird for a Utica game.
Yeah.
Which usually has one of the best atmospheres. I don't know. It just felt wrong.
No, I get that. I mean, there's definitely been, even for games that like I said, I didn't make it to this one, but there's definitely been games where I've been there. We've been there, and it's just like everybody's just kind of going through the motion, just kind of watching the game. And it's like,
yeah,
you have to remember, fans are participants too.
Mm-hmm.
If the fans aren't into it, the guys aren't going to be into it as much. They are, and they won't be. But if the fans are into it, the guys are going to be into it, and that's going to push them to want to do more to make those fans cheer. So, yeah, maybe it's a complacency thing because
kind of we're going to beat them anyway.
Yeah,
but
don't ever count a team out. Ever. We got beat by Mississauga. Keep that in mind. St. Patty's Day. A day we will never forget. In the MASL.
So we get to play on that again.
Oh boy.
Just stay into it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I have more fun when I can get the crowd into it.
I know we were cheering from home. At least I was.
It's a rivalry game. You're winning most of the game.
Yep.
Be involved.
Yeah, Michelle typically doesn't watch them because she thinks she's a curse. So she doesn't watch games remote ever.
And she's not there. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it's like I would rather watch the game no matter what happens. And I always, I'm always sitting in a chat room with some friends, and we're watching the game together and cheering, and the size of defeat and things like that together. But we're always watching it, and we're always passing along that energy to the guys. So it's like, it's just, like I said, end of the day, fans are participants too, and give them what they're giving you. If they're giving you everything, you got to give them everything. If they're not giving you everything, you got to yell at them to give you everything.
Well, yeah. Minor, that just tells you how good the game was. Well played it was. Yeah, a couple mistakes were made, but you watch the players. Hey, me. Yep, I know. You know, as
Yeah.
we talked about with Shea, they're taking responsibility for it much faster than some other guys around the league will.
Yep. Which is good.
Mm-hmm. Positive takeaway from this one is, look, I'm going to keep going with Brian. Like,
And
he's
you're
continued
rightfully
to
so, too. Do it.
perform. Yeah, now that he's, you know, not sick and has gotten loose, played a couple games, he's performing at that level that we saw in the 2021-2022 season.
Yeah.
Where at times we were like, hey, Coughlin's kind of struggling. Let's give him a game off to fix his head, get Brian back in there.
Yep. I think my biggest positive takeaway from this one is literally just we're 3-0 against Baltimore. I mean, there was a few years ago where we used to dread going against Baltimore every single time because we lost every single game. And we're not there. This is a good season. And so we're 3-0 against them, and we can be happy about that. We have 3 more games against them. Let's make it a sweep.
I would love a sweep. Oh my God. Could you imagine sweeping the Blast?
Sweep.
Their fan base would be just in arms.
It just makes me think if it's 5-0 by the time we get to that last game and I get to be there for that game, that very last one that's potentially going to be the sweep. Oh boy. I put myself in the middle of danger now. Huber, we're going to have a problem.
That pretty much covers the recap on this one. You know, it was I don't want to say a by the book victory, but we expected Utica to win by a few goals. They won by a few goals. Yeah, it took a little wonkiness there at the end to get the job done, but the boys came through. They did what they needed to.
Yep, they did. 100%.
We get a bye week, which is kind of weird. We don't have a preview this week.
I know. Just like we won't have a recap next week, but we'll have a preview next week. What is going on with the world?
Yeah. I figured we could do like a state of the MASL since, boy, there are things happening. Kansas City blew another 3-1 half or 4-1 halftime lead to lose in overtime. They've lost 7 in a row. Milwaukee came back from a 4-1 deficit to win, what was it, 7-4?
I thought they made it 8.
8-4, something like that.
Because they scored. No, it might have been. I think it was 7.
7-4.
Yeah, 7-4. Yeah, because it was 6. It was 6
Flash.
unanswered, which was 6 unanswered with 6 attacker. Okay, like what?
The Flash are undefeated. Chihuahua looks like they're back to being themselves with their new coach.
Yep.
There's a lot to talk about around the league, and we can do that next week.
Yeah, and we don't have much to talk about.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Dogs.
Okay. What would you like to say about them?
Dogs.
Okay.
They're
your
great.
Sogs in.
They're great. Yeah.
I guess that's going to be everything from us.
Yeah.
Unless someone in the chat has something they'd like to talk about, but otherwise,
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs, cake. No, I don't want to talk about the divorce that's happening between our internet dads.
Why you gotta do that, man? All right, take us home.
As always, thank you for watching. Matt, he's Brandon. And go Utica. Let's have a strong second half of the season here with 10 games to play.
Yeah, why you gotta make me look up a stat?
Including and 10 games to play, including a matchup that could be against the undefeated Flash later this month.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one, but we'll talk about it soon. So, thank you all.
Until next time, guys. Go Utica. Thanks for watching or listening.
Thank you for listening to the Keepers Corner podcast on whatever podcast app you use. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. We have a TeePublic shop where you can get UCFC player swag or help support the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. And one last thing. Go Utica City.